I still don't think that we've solved really too many problems with this whole NATO issue. Galloway seems absolutely convinced of this BRICS, this new big BRICS movement to join together various forces that Russia are allied with, but I don't really buy it. I mean, why do they always need this big, you know, BRIC union thing? Russia was alright. You could go there on a holiday, and it was kind of like mixing with the West. Okay, we never, there's never been any government initiatives with Russia, and I don't think they wanted there to be, and I don't know why, because you'd have thought that that country, it's got quite respectable citizens. One thing I noticed is when the Polish came over here, I actually quite liked it. I mean, I didn't mind the Polish people at all. I mean, I quite like them. I'm not saying that I don't like other people, but what I mean to say is, um, it was like kind of not going back in time, or being going backwards. But what I'm saying is they were quite traditional. They were quite traditional, very traditional. They were very kind of like, in a way, somewhat humble and still a little bit religious, but not kind of like, not like Christian Fellowship religious. Sort of like, they were very traditional people, very strong family oriented and traditional people. And I noticed that I kind of like that aspect to it. And I realised that, I mean, that's good. Strong families. It's quite the opposite of what happened with the kind of urban city living. Even though, this college student life, from this kind of like, student house parties, philosophers, and all this TV game show kind of excess and celebritism. The Polish people were kind of like, I don't know, in a way, maybe it's kind of like reading, now when I'm reading some of these um Parliament sessions from the 1800s, or even some of these petitions from the 1600s that I've been studying, um, they seem to be kind of like, just more family and traditionally orientated. And I don't mean to say in any way not intelligent, because these people are into mobile phones, they're into the latest tech, they're into the latest gadgets. But there was an element to that which I tend to prefer, that, right, aspect to the Polish people than I prefer with this sort of Simon Cowell, culture, with his nipple hanging out, of his, literally go, he might as well be Freddie Mercury, going on there dripping with, oozing with, you know, um, aftershave and, hair gel or whatever. And the whole kind of like Ant and Dec, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, Love Island sort of super, not just loose women, we're talking about slack, but this kind of fake sort of pretend kind of like niceness, which is only there for the sake of this sort of roaring audiences, and I think the Polish people were definitely more into like community, this whole community, they all sit around together and talk and things like that in houses. They might, some of them might be drinking vodka or whatever, but even if they're not drinking vodka, when they have their families, they go to their families, and there's something that is preserved in the Polish people that I think that has just gone slack in England, and I think that it's a loss. And I think that, this whole Tony Blair, David Cameron, Starmer culture is kind of trying to cast away, in some aspects. And the thing is that this whole corporate grip on the planet, this whole BlackRock Vanguard, big pharma, big agriculture, Bill Gates, this whole big, huge kind of like entity that's wanting to take over. I've never really bought into the claim that Putin is, their enemy, because, Russia has got big business. Big business is global. Big business is in all countries. I don't believe that Russia is the enemy of big business, right? He might not be, their friends, or he might not be their best mates, but he's definitely their business partner, that's for sure. It's either big business or not big business, right? And Russia are all in for big business, and they're definitely quite authoritarian in their control. The whole thing with NATO, my personal opinion with NATO is that, okay, they claim that they've got a conflict with Russia and Russia's buying more territory or expanding its territory, and NATO is apparently put there as some kind of like, stopper on it or whatever. And then we've got the European Union. I mean, in my opinion, and obviously, George Galloway knows a lot more than me. George Galloway is the man who knows everything about all these other countries around the world and different religions and things like that, a lot more than I do. But I still think that Galloway is a little bit too interested in these other countries than our country. He seems a little bit too concerned about what's going on in other countries rather than here in England. The thing with America is this. In kind of like, I would say, England, Australia, America and Canada, right, the Commonwealth, and some of Europe, because obviously you've got people in Europe who support the World Economic Forum and, Macron and so forth, but you've also got some people in Europe who are kind of opposed to it. Because there was the European Union, right? They had this European Union, and that's going to be tied into NATO and the United Nations. With Russia, I think my opinion is that even if there's a little bit of disagreement, there's never been any. What reason have we got to fight Russia? What reason have we got not to be friends with Russia? Why hasn't there been any initiatives with Russia, like, Auf Wiedersehen, Costa del Sol? We've got Polish people coming over here. We've had, waves of Indian people coming over here, waves of Chinese people coming over here, opening restaurants. What is it with Russia? I mean, when has there been a youth initiative with Russia or any kind of initiative? But why not? As far as I know, as far as I'm concerned, when you look at Russia, it seems quite appealing to me. And I know people who go over there, who've been there. Are they that bad? I know Professor Tim Wilson said that, when he saw his own interview on the television there, that they'd adapted or changed his speech. But, why hasn't there been any encouragement between England and Russia? And I think it's been for other reasons higher up in governments. And this whole NATO thing, at the moment, everyone is kind of like literally been panicking about this huge industrial military complex, BlackRock Vanguard thing that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been talking about. Now, as it stood, America and, the Democrats and Kamala Harris and so forth, with NATO and with this World Economic Forum, claim that they're against Russia, right? But I don't think that's the case. I think that it's the fact that it's just generally the people of the planet who want to be free and opposed to this whole takeover and forced union and Chinese social order social point system model that is looming, with the whole surveillance state model which is looming, and then what's been done to us all with the farmer and the food which is looming, and just the fact that, you know, Bill Gates and his land takeover and all those parts to it, that is really like an opponent, right? That's an opponent to people who want to be free and not under surveillance, right? And some true political power to influence politics and law, and have equal pay and money, and not it be owned and policies and orchestrated by these big companies. So there's where your real divide is. The real divide is not Putin, NATO. The real divide is everyone on the planet, right, who is not too keen on this whole idea of these big corporate entities, which are multinational. There is no country for that entity. Now, when everyone else is kicking off about it, I think that the true Ukraine situation, in my opinion, has been, let's threaten the civilians of the planet, and we'll scare them by destroying Ukraine, and we'll have Putin versus, you know, NATO. And I think that's what it's meant to do, and threaten a war. Now, the Americans were helping that, okay? The Americans were helping NATO and Europe against so-called enemy Putin. I think it's a pretended enemy, because Putin is allied with, you know, the East, remember, who's got the social point system, but Russia don't have a social point system as to say, but they got like quite strict laws and now, which they've clearly enforced and brought in even stronger. And now that the enlightened, or the kind of open-minded people who are opposing this big corporate overhanging entity, call it like a big cloud looming over the top, right, or whatever, of this darkness of this entity, because America and England and Australia and Canada, like the people who are switched on, so to say, I'm not going to use the word enlightened or woke, I'll say switched on, right, to what's happening, it's quite a formidable force of awareness and realization, and you're up against truth and fact, really, which is they can't claim to, you know, misinformation when that's what you're basing everything on, is true information and true understanding and knowledge. Now, what I think is, because it's clear that Kennedy has got this awakening force, and that clearly was going to have some effect in America. You can say, well, so what about McDonald's and all these big corporate companies in America? Well, everyone's waking up to it. Now, I think it all shifted. And the thing is, I don't trust Donald Trump. Now, Kennedy's saying that we should trust Donald Trump, even if he's seen the light, right, and suddenly been enlightened and awakened himself. But I think that I'm very disappointed that Kennedy just didn't win, right, outright, and have something completely new and fresh. I think he could have done, and he should have done. All these legal suits against him are ridiculous. And I think that the corporate entity, you know, because Trump's been meeting up with BlackRock Vanguard and Larry Fink, and he's in with all that lot as well, which I really don't think is acceptable. And I think that what's happened is Trump switched sides to Kennedy, with the Republicans have switched sides to Kennedy. The Republicans are the better of two evils. And I don't know whether they've truly switched, but at least they've had to make it look like they have. And with doing that, they're going to have to oppose all this big corporate cloud thing, right? Even if Trump, regardless of whether Trump legitimately has woken up and seen the light with Kennedy, or whether he's still got one foot in the bed with BlackRock Vanguard and Larry Fink, either way, whatever's happening now, they were going to have to at least pass it off like, you know, they've seen the light. And therefore, where's this big corporate entity cloud going to go to? It's going to go somewhere. Now, if all of America is going to end up getting healthy and wake up and blah, 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 that means all your McDonald's, KFC, the whole American brand, the whole, like, you know, the whole brand of America itself, the modern brand of America, you know, McFlurry, is going to have to go, right? Because that's going to be gone if RF Kennedy Jr. gets into government, even if Trump, I mean, can anyone even believe that could happen? Trump, McTrump cannot possibly, forfeit his own brand. This is the thing. This is the bewildering thing. Now, so Trump is going to have to forfeit his own brand. Do you really believe Trump is going to do that and forfeit McTrump burger to save America? Well, he's claiming he is. He's claiming he is with Kennedy. Now, if they win and America somehow becomes cleansed or purified, and then he's like reestablishes some kind of democratic force of health, then where's that big cloud going to go? It's going to go somewhere, right? And if America aren't going to be fun, if Kennedy and Trump get in and claim that they're waving, the red and white flag or whatever, they're not going to be funding NATO, and they're not going to claim they're not going to be funding or encouraging wars, right? So why does Putin need BRICS? Why does Putin need BRICS? He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it because if Kennedy wins, right, then they won't be doing NATO attacks on Russia. Now, this is why I don't trust the whole thing, because Putin must have had an idea by the looks of it that it looks like Kennedy's going to win, and if Kennedy ain't going to support NATO and attacking wars, then why would then surely Putin can relax, right? But he's not. He's done the opposite. He's going, oh no, we're expanding BRICS, we're fortifying. Well, I'm like, well, why do you need to fortify if you just if it's looking like Kennedy's going to win and you're going to back down, then you would unfortify and you would go back to as you were before. And in fact, even better, because then they're going to scrap all the fast food at McDonald's and things like that. But, okay, Putin has thrown out all the American brands and so forth, but has he thrown out all the American brands because they're going to be going anyway, all these, unhealthy brands, and they're going to be flying the flag for liberty and free democratic fairness, which is what Putin isn't really known for. Democratic fairness. Putin's kind of known for quite authoritarian. So it's not like Putin's throwing out McDonald's and everything like that because, all the unhealthy thing is going to go. The Americans. Are America going to become the new opponent for Putin and his new BRICS? Not because of NATO attacking and a war threat, because Kennedy would be pulling back this war threat. But what is the threat? Well, the threat's not really Ukraine. The threat's not really Ukraine or war with weapons in a military sense. The real opponent is going to be getting rid of these huge big corporate entity brands, pharma and global takeover, and freeing up democratic rights, which... Well, if Russia really want to scrap McDonald's and they booted him out, but that's what Kennedy's going to do anyway, why isn't he opening his doors and saying, no, come on in, right, well, let's all get rid of all these? Well, he hasn't. He's bricking up. And I think that he's really bricking up. He's keeping big brands, he's keeping big companies, but this is the thing. This big corporate entity, BlackRock, Vanguard, Mystery Cloud, doesn't care whether the big corporate entity brands are Russian or American, right? Russians have kicked all the American brands out, but they've just turned them into Russian brands. So it's still big burgers, big burgers and big brands, but just in Russian. And BlackRock Vanguard, can live with that. It doesn't have to say McDonald's. It can say, Tulsi Zikchik or whatever, as long as everyone's buying them, in BRICS, right? What BRICS is bricking up against, though, is democracy, freedom, and political equality and fairness, which authoritarian Russian government doesn't like, right? But he can keep his big corporate entity brands and things like that. It's definitely against freedom, but yet we're backing out with the military. So that means to say that I don't think Russia really was doing the war because of military, because of Ukraine. It was doing it to threaten the civilians of the world because they're rising up against corporate entity. Therefore, I think that NATO, this whole UN, United Nations, the whole Europe, the European Union, NATO, and everything, that was this attempt to try and bring this social point system, social media control, blah, 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 big pharmaceuticals, agriculture, everything all over the planet. But if the Americans aren't in on that, if the Americans are out on that, they can't do it because, Americans are a big part of NATO and United Nations. And if the Americans are going to be opposed to World Health Organization and United Nations, to the fact of global takeover, they can't do it. So this is my opinion now. I think the spirit of Sauron, the dark cloud, the big corporate thing is actually moved into BRICS, which means that it itself, that the whole war and this whole conflict wasn't really, it was like a facade to try and scare the planet, the people, the civilians of the planet with the threat of a nuclear war. And I actually think now it's gone into Russia because, as far as I'm concerned, I think that if Kennedy's going to be playing a major role in America and this whole kind of like, healing of America and freeing up democratic freedom, right? Big corporate bad guy needs to move somewhere else. Now, I don't think Larry Fink or Bill Gates or any of them, if they were exiled from America, this is just theoretical. Like, I know they're not going to exile Bill Gates from America, but I'm just talking symbolically, right? If they're going to exile big Bill Gates and, big corporate entities from America, then where's it going to go? Well, I don't think that Larry Fink really cares whether his multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies, burger chains, you name it, right, is actually in Russian writing or not. Because they can dominate and rule the planet without needing to be in America, right? And if Australia's in on it with Kennedy, and possibly even Canada, I think the whole Trudeau in on the whole UN NATO thing probably might dissolve as well. This is my opinion. I think why are they doing this, BRICS? Why now? They don't need it. If it's looking like Kennedy and Trump are going to win and they're anti-war and they're going to fight all big pharma, so you don't need, this whole WEF, World Economic Forum thing is going to dissolve. Then what's Putin defending himself against? Why is he consolidating into BRICS now? Which means it's not about NATO. I think that it's about democracy and like voting and like right to petition and the people fairly voting on what should be done. Not having ridiculous authoritarian laws and rules, which is what Kamala Harris definitely wanted, and they've already got in China with the social point system. Putin does like authoritarian regimes. Most people left Russia who didn't want to go to war. Shouldn't they be going back now if NATO are going to be pulling out if Kennedy wins, right? Because he won't be back in it. Joe Biden won't be back in it. I don't believe that Putin was the vicious enemy of the World Economic Forum and NATO or United Nations. I don't believe it for a second. And if Charles has got fingers in the pie with his personal private investments, military campaign, beyond leaders with trillions at his disposal, he ain't going to be doing that in America. He's not going to be doing a military-style campaign with trillions at his disposal, beyond leaders in America, or Canada, or Australia, or possibly even Europe. If the Americans, if this American thing comes out with Kennedy somehow figured into it, which is why I just don't. Why brick up now? What's to brick up against? They're about to de-brick. They're about to start taking the BRICS back out again. So I think even though here's George Galloway with his thick NHS glasses on in front of this BRICS Russia thing, with this white background as if BRICS is a good thing. But why do they need BRICS now? But why do they need it? We know Russia are allied with China. They're right next to China. China's got the social point system. Russia likes authoritarianism. That's two BRICS fastening together, which we don't want to fasten together. I don't know why Galloway is all in for that. I don't doubt that Galloway doesn't know a hell of a lot about the Middle East and different factions and countries and so forth, right? But there's some point that what Galloway is missing out on. There's some bit that I don't think Galloway gets, and that's the big corporate, the big corporate entity part of it. The Bill Gates pharmaceuticals, so forth, part of it. And that entity, to protect itself from what's happening in America now, needs to consolidate. And I think that what's consolidating itself now, if Kennedy and Trump are going to win in America, there's going to be some definitely big changes. I mean, I cannot see how Trump, being a businessman, would just suddenly, almost kind of like wake up like he's had some kind of revelation with Kennedy after all his McDonald's involvement and so forth. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it at all. No matter how much Kennedy says, you don't know Donald Trump, you don't know him, you need to get to know him and so forth and so forth. But it's that much pressure on Trump and generally in America now with, the wake-up call for everyone can see what's going on, that they have to switch sides. So really Trump's, claiming to switch sides over to the good side, but, and you might say, well, it's quite pessimistic, that point of view, because then, surely all governments aren't bad and, so forth. It's not really necessarily just about the governments or who's in the government, or it's about, even, Senator John Kennedy was saying, that these big companies are very powerful, but I still don't buy that it's, Mark Zuckerberg and Sergey Brin at the helm. It's made to look like that, but there's a lot more to it than that. The deep state that pulled all the strings and permitted them to get so big. This player behind the scenes, which I kind of call like the dark cloud, is moving around, and where's it going to move? It's like, where are you going to move? Where's your chess piece going to move to, right? Where's it going to move now? If even if Trump is being honest and is kind of like put his hands up and said, okay, we're going to be good now over here. There's a movement, a consolidation, and it's appeared in this BRICS thing. So if they can't have their NATO and if they can't have their European Union, there's lots of people in Europe saying that Europe's gone, the European Union's finished, it's been and gone, it's on its day, it's no more. There's loads of voting going all over the place now, all over Europe, left, right, and centre. I don't think like NATO have pulled out and then World Economic Forum and so forth have gone, oh dear, what a shame, we lost. I think that this BRICS thing is really now a problem. I mean, why do they need to have BRICS? If there's not going to be any wars, countries just carry on as they're doing. Why does it need to be BRICS? They always have to do something, some kind of, whether it's NATO or whether it's United Nations or now it's BRICS, why do one at all? Every single one of these organisations is questionable, and it's how these figures like Blair manage to operate and work. And the thing is, China's a big part of that with the social points, how they've got the whole thing running. And I know that George Galloway said, like, look at Japan for an example. Japan, that's a good country. They don't have very many health problems compared to other countries and so forth. It's why do they have to have this kind of like spectre organization that is going to unify the whole world and have a some kind of give itself some kind of authority? Why have one at all? Why do they need one? And you see they've got these BRICS, so this is it. I mean, you might say, well, maybe the corporate entity, if Russia is against these big entities, and they're not part of BRICS, well, I'll believe that when I see it. If they're just still floating around now and being dispersed, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all, and I don't believe that they give up that easily. Even if you say, well, everyone can't be that bad, maybe they've all seen the light like Trump, maybe they've all come round to it. But well, why does, if that's the case, even if someone, even if Jesus blessed Bill Gates' forehead, and baptized him, and he floated up into the air, and started glowing like a crystal, and Tony Blair, all of even if every single Fabian now just suddenly floated up to the sky and started glowing with light, still then, well, why does Putin need BRICS then? What's he building with BRICS? Why need BRICS? Why not just have Russia? Why all the big organisations? So I'm not convinced with it. And Galloway, he might be trying to sell it as something positive, but what's the need for it now? What need is there for it other than the wars in the Middle East? But those wars in the Middle East have been going on forever and ever and ever and ever since before Jesus. And I can't see that them not having wars in the Middle East. It's almost kind of like isn't it? That's just what they do, isn't it? And if you haven't figured that out for now, maybe they should rebuild the Colosseum in the Middle East, and just have it like a permanent, Colosseum match. That could be a plan. We could build them a big Colosseum, surrounding the Middle East, just so they can, keep on fighting, and then everyone can just go and spectate and watch it, if that's what they want to do. But it seems to be what they're just doing. That's just what they do, isn't it? Anyway, that's my opinion. It might not be very thorough or detailed or accurate or correct, but it is an opinion. It's not like not having an opinion. So, I'm not convinced with this BRICS thing. I think Judge Galloway's NHS classes are a couple of BRICS. From what Professor Tim Wilson said to me, or said to us, the Russians, were messing around with his, broadcasting statements and switching and changing it around. But even if Russia wasn't doing the BRICS, the smell, the stench of the evil is still in the air, and it's going somewhere. Where's it going? Look at Charles with his, where is this military-style operation beyond leaders? If it's beyond Putin, BRICS is beyond leaders, because it's BRICS. It isn't any one of them. It's either them combined or beyond just themselves, isn't it? You might as well say, BRICS, that fits. Does that fit the bill? Does that fit the order? Well, it's a military-style operation beyond leaders with children at its disposal, or BRICS, BRICS is beyond leaders, and it's a military-style operation, and it's got children at its disposal. Is that, how about that? Oh no, we're fighting Mr. Putin, we're against him. Yeah, right. No, you're fighting the citizens because they're being rowdy and naughty and they want their rights back, and you stole all the money off them, and they smashed all the machines up with the Luddites. This is it. So as far as I'm concerned, I think Galloway is wrong, and maybe I am wrong, but I think why do you need it? No need. There's no need, is there? No need. What is the need for bricks and why now? You know, and it's, oh, because she's looking like Kennedy might win. Well, if she's looking like Kennedy might win, then, you know, why waste the bricks, you know? It's like, you know, it's why need bricks now, you know? If it was looking like Kamala Harris was going to win. Put it this way, right? If Kamala Harris wins, you can see why they would need bricks, right? But if she's not going to win, then why would they need it? So, you know, I'll say that to Putin, you know, why build bricks? Why build bricks? Why? Why? No need. No need. But there must be some kind of need. But, you know, we'll find out soon what the need is. You know, we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see.